I didn't know that you could love a book as much as I love this book. I have like the TikTok audio ingrained in my memory. It's so good. The post 5-star book read slump that you get into, I live for moments like that in my books. What were the characters' names? Wasn't it like an Adam Driver fanfic? I buy books like I buy makeup. It's one of my favorite slogans. I feel like I should get that on a sweatshirt or something. When I first started getting into reading about 2 years ago, all I read were the viral TikTok BookTok books. And I will still continue to read those viral BookTok TikTok books. I feel like last year I read a ton of books that went like super viral on TikTok. For the most part, I had a really fun time with them. But I feel like if I were to go back and read them now, I just don't know how I would really feel about them, because I feel like just like everything else in life, your taste in books can change. Oh my god, that was so hot. Oh, I think I just burned my tongue off. That was supposed to be a cute little tea moment. I also watch a ton of book content too. Sarah, Larissa, Destiny, Rachel, Haley. I also watch Steph, so I love being a BookTok girl. Like, I love consuming it, but I have dipped my toe into the fantasy world this past year, and I feel like I'm never gonna go back to like contemporary romance. I'm also gonna share my rating on the books that we're gonna talk about today, and I'm also going to tell you if I would change that rating if I were to read the books right now. So the first book I want to talk about, I don't think you can have one without the other. So we're going to talk about both of these together. This is part of the ACOTAR series, and I want to preface this by saying I don't think I will ever read a book series that I love more than this one, and I'm only 2 books in. So I have like 3 more books to go. Is it 3? Yeah, I have like 3 more books to go in the series. The reason why I'm still reading this and have been reading this book series for months now is because I love it so much. I'm sure some of you guys can relate, but like I genuinely get so invested in the story in this world that I have a hard time working, living life, basically doing anything other than reading, because I get so into this world. I love it so much. I'm actually wearing a necklace right now. If you know, you know, but this is from a story. I've purchased so much ACOTAR themed jewelry from them and I love it. I wear it like every single day. With that being said, let's first talk about ACOTAR. I only ever really read a few books like when I was younger and like a preteen, early teenage years, and the Trill series by Amanda Hocking was a book series that I absolutely loved. It was like the romantasy. I believe it was like young adult, but I loved it so much. And I took a huge gap from reading and I didn't read for years, and I just always read and reached for more contemporary romance. So an idea of reading about a huntress who kills a wolf in the woods was like not at all appealing to me. It just wasn't something I would normally go for. I'm not going to chat too much about like what this book is about because I feel like everyone has read this or at least knows enough about it. I just started to read the first few pages like months ago, and I just had to put the book down because I was like, I'm not going to get into this. And people warned me, they told me that like A Court of Thorns and Roses is like slow, that you're not really going to enjoy parts of it too much, and you're really reading to like get to the second book and get to the rest of the series. I was actually kind of concerned, and I was talking to my friend Yana, and I literally was like sending her voice messages and updating her like every single page when I was reading this, and I was so nervous because I didn't know if I was really gonna like love it or get into it as much as I really wanted to, because I love the community, the ACOTAR community, and I love how much people rave about these books, and I wanted a part of that. I was reading it, and I will say I did not get emotionally invested into the story until probably about like here, and that was just me personally, but I love this book. I rate this book 5 million stars, especially after reading like the rest of them. I did rate it 5 stars on Goodreads though. I feel like every single book in the series is just gonna be like 5 million stars for me, but it was slow at parts, but I feel like you kind of need that world building, especially in a romantasy like this one. I will say I have doubts that I will actually enjoy reading any fantasy books unless there is a touch of romance in them. I do love a good slow burn romance, and you definitely get some of that in this story, I guess you could say. I do question if I'm ever really gonna just be like a fantasy reader. I don't know, because I feel like I need the romance. Even if it's just a little bit, I need it. But I love this book. If I reread this today, I'd give it 5 million stars, and I would actually probably enjoy it much more the second time around because I know what's going on, and there's certain things that happen in this that mean so much once you finish this book. Now, A Court of Mist and Fury This book changed my life, I'm telling you. I don't think I will ever read a book that I love more than this. The characters, the story, just everything. I love this so much. I love this book with every ounce of my soul. I didn't know that you could love a book as much as I love this book. So if you guys have read this and you also love it, please let me know. But I am addicted to this. I peer pressured so many of my friends to read it, and then I begged them to give me like play-by-play updates when they were reading it. We all love it. It is an amazing book. I will say, like, I did rate this, of course, like 1,000,000,000 infinity stars. I don't think anything will ever come close to this for me. Sarah J. Maas is incredible. I am slightly overwhelmed to finish ACOTAR because number one, I don't want it to end, and number two, I do worry about my life when I'm reading these books because I don't do anything other than read. And these are really thick books and they're long books, and I'm a very slow reader, so I'm very unproductive when I'm reading this world and reading this series. So I will have to finish these books soon though. I want to start Throne of Glass. I want to start Crescent City. I know some people say like they thought they were going to be ACOTAR fans more than Throne of Glass, but then it switches once you start. I don't think it's ever going to switch for me. I really don't. I will have to do an updated video like in a year from now when I finally get through all of Sarah J. Maas's books, but I really don't think that anything is going to change. I don't want this to burn my tongue off. It's still too hot. If I had to pick another like favorite book right after these two, dun, 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 I would definitely have to pick like this world right here. I don't know when this happened, but I started collecting Fourth Wing copies. The bottom one that you saw is an advanced reader's copy that one of my friends was so kind to send me when I could not find Fourth Wing anywhere. And I did read Fourth Wing before I read ACOTAR. Fourth Wing is such, I feel like I'm still a super beginner when it comes to romantasy, fantasy reading, but I feel like it's safe to say though that like Fourth Wing is such an amazing book for beginner romantasy readers. It's so easy and quick to get into. There are some politics in the book. There are some like world building moments, and I feel like there's not going to be a fantasy book where there's not some of that because you need to understand the world and it does need to get built while you're reading it. But I loved this so much. Like, I will honestly say like since page 1 of this, look at it. Larissa's so cute. She said, "Hi, I hope you love this book as much as I do. I love you so much." I love you, Larissa. Thank you for this. But this book, seriously, like it changed me. But I got hooked on like the first page, truly. Chapter 1 at the top 2, it says, "A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead." I'm sure all of you guys have heard that, but it's like, it's the phrase. It's the phrase of Fourth Wing. I have like the TikTok audio ingrained in my memory. It's so good. This is gonna be an amazing like TV show or movie someday. But it literally, like sentence number 1, conscription day is always the deadliest. And I'm like, okay, I would like to know more. And I just got into it. Like I got into this so fast. I love the characters. And I'm gonna admit something here. This book and a bit of ACOTAR and everything, but mostly this book had a major influence in me going back to like my martial arts training. I was just so inspired, so influenced. There are moments when I'm in the gym and I'm like training and I'm just like, what would Violet do and what would Feyre do? They would not quit, they would keep pushing, and I use that as motivation in the gym. And I am training just like Violet and Feyre do. But there's a lot of action in this, like the relationships, the character building, the development, everything about the story is just, it really is like, it's addictive. It's an addictive fantasy. I read this so fast and like the last page left me speechless. I am kind of disappointed in myself because I still haven't read Iron Flame, but like this is one of those books too that like I don't function, I don't live life when I'm reading this series. I just kind of tune everything out and I live in this world, and that's it until the book's over. And then for a few days after. You guys know, the post 5-star book read slump that you get into, it's very, very heavy for me with Fourth Wing and with the ACOTAR series. This I rated 5 billion stars. I feel like I don't really need to say much about this either, but it's basically like a college where people are training to become dragon riders, and there is a romance in this, and it's amazing, and it's the best enemies to lovers ever. If I read this again, I would absolutely love it. I can't wait to read Iron Flame. I've been putting it off, like I said, for the same reasons that I just mentioned. Like I said, I do collect Fourth Wing copies. This is like a prized possession right here, and we have like the holiday version, and then I also have the OG that I tracked down on, I want to say I got this like on Mercari or something like that. I did buy it from a reseller. I'm not super proud of it, but I needed it and I love it so much. No regrets, but I'm so happy to have it. Most of my books are still back home in Pennsylvania, so I don't have a lot of the books with me in the city. I'm sure you guys can figure out what book I'm gonna say next. Powerless by Lauren Roberts. sports. I was excited to start this. I was like, okay, people that love ACOTAR and people that love Fourth Wing are raving about this book. I started this book and it was really cute. For me, it doesn't personally rank in the ACOTAR and Fourth Wing world. It didn't give me the same feel or the same vibe as those books did, but I did rate it 4 out of 5 stars because I still really loved it and I thought it was such a brilliant story. And I just loved the banter between the characters. I really did enjoy it, and I'm excited for the second book. I think it's gonna come out in like a few months. I'm definitely gonna buy it like immediately and read it immediately. If I reread this right now and I read this a few months ago, I would probably rate it quite high. I don't think it would hit that 5-star for me a second time around, but I think it would stay between that like maybe 3.8, 4-star range for sure. But do I recommend it? Definitely. It was really fun. The banter was perfection, and there were definitely moments where I was kind of like squealing and kicking my feet a little bit, and I live for moments like that in my books. My tea is finally cool enough for me to drink. We're gonna take a step back from the romantasy now, and we're gonna go into more of like a contemporary romance. This book was all over. This was all over the place. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I wanna say this was the first book that I read by Abby Jimenez, and I did enjoy it. I did rate this 4 stars. I read this almost like a year ago. It says I finished it around like April 24th in 2023. So it's been a minute since I read this. If I read this again, would I give it 4 stars? I don't think so. And I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't love rating or talking about books in a negative light. I always feel like really guilty and bad when I like rate a book anything less than 5 stars. When I rate books, it's more so just how I connected to the book, how the story made me feel. We're not all going to love all of the same books, just like we don't all love the same makeup products. I post a lot of like beauty content and everything normally, and we're all different. We all have different preferences. So just because like a makeup product doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. In my makeup reviews, I like to tell you why I like it, why it works for me, or why it doesn't work for me. I like to do the same thing when it comes to books, because just because I don't love it doesn't mean that it's not going to be your new favorite read. So please don't ever let any lower ratings discourage you from reading a book, because you might love it. This book was really cute. I will say like it kept me engaged, and I want to say I read this pretty quickly. I will say like one thing that I did really enjoy about Yours Truly was the anxiety representation in the book. I thought that that was amazing to read about, especially coming from our male main character, and the way that the characters got along, their relationship, and the way that they grew together, I really enjoyed reading about. It was like a really beautiful story. It was a heartwarming story. Thinking about it now, I feel like I would need to be in a really specific mood to read another contemporary romance after becoming so infatuated with the world of romantasy. Let me know if you guys feel the same, but I feel like a lot of romantasy readers can relate to it. I feel like once I really dipped my toe into the water of romantasy again with Fourth Wing, with ACOTAR, I'm wondering why I haven't been reading it this entire time, because the worlds are just so compelling and there's so much going on, and I don't know, I just feel like such an attachment to it. And not saying you can't have that feeling with contemporary romance, but for me personally, I just feel like my taste has been growing over the years, and looking back on this book, I don't really think about it ever. It's not a book that like stays with me. It's not a book that I think about regularly. Not every book has to feel like that. Not every book has to do that. Most of the time when I make time to read, I want to read a book that makes me feel like ACOTAR and Fourth Wing does. I feel like if I were to reread this and rate this now, I would probably rate it 3 stars instead of 4 stars. I think 3 stars is still a great rating in my rating rule book, I guess you could say, but I'm not sure I would keep it at like a 4 star. But I do want to check out more of Abby Jimenez's books, because I feel like there are quite a few of them that I would enjoy, but I just kind of have to be in that contemporary romance mood. This next one is going to hurt to think about. I read this quite a long time ago, From Lukov with Love. This book made me feel all different feelings. I loved this so much. Like when I rated this 5 stars, and it's by Mariana Zapata. Mariana Zapata is known for extremely slow burn romances, and Mariana's books are thick, like really thick, like ACOTAR thick. Well, I should probably say A Court of Mist and Fury thick, because ACOTAR is a smaller one in the series. When I rated this, I said, I don't think I've ever read a book faster alongside Colty. This is a new favorite. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And in the world, I feel like I keep saying contemporary romance romance. But in that world, yes, I do love it. I think I would love this book again. There are moments in that book that I still remember, that I can still picture. Reading that book probably like 2 years ago, the fact that it's staying with me, I can recall some of those moments pretty vividly. It tells me it's a good book and I really did enjoy it. If I read this again, would I give it a 5-star? I'm not entirely sure. I think maybe between 4 and 5 star, maybe like a 4.5 star. It's hard for me though to rate books with completely different genres, like taking a romantasy book and a contemporary romance and both giving them like 4 stars. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of different. I try not to take ratings like too seriously. Do I think about this book daily? No, but if I ever see people talking about it or it's on TikTok or something like that, I get excited. I love to see that other people love the books as well. It's kind of like an enemies to lovers, but there are really, really sweet moments between Ivan and Jasmine. I do remember their names, so I guess that's a good thing. Do you guys ever like read a book and then completely forget the characters' names? I feel like if I do that, it's a telltale sign that the book just was not for me. Would I reread this book anytime soon? I'm not itching to reread it. I would like to at some point in the future. Like I would like to listen to it as an audiobook, especially because of how long it is. Sometimes I struggle with like wanting to reread a book unless it's ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. Those don't count. But any other book, because I feel like in the time that I'm spending rereading a book, I could be reading a new book. I know that might be kind of like a silly mindset, but I usually like to read a book first and then the second time around I'll listen to it, but I have yet to like reread any of my like favorite books. I did enjoy it. There were a lot of tropes in that book that I really did enjoy. I am kind of like pretty big on tropes. I love a good enemies to lovers. Like I love things like that. And I just love and live for the banter in books. And I feel like seeing the character development and dynamic between enemies to lovers is just chef's kiss. I live for moments like that in books. So if a book is not enemies to lovers, doesn't mean I'm not gonna like read it, but like a friends to lovers is not like a book that I normally would go for because I enjoy the moments in enemies to lovers books. But do I recommend it? Yes. It's about 2 figure skaters. Again, Ivan and Jasmine, enemies to lovers. They've known each other forever. I definitely think it's worth checking out. And we're not going to talk too much about Colty, but I do love Colty. I think that's another amazing book. If you're into like sports romances, I definitely recommend checking it out. I don't live for a good sports romance, but like in this case, I did really enjoy them. I love Mariana Zapata. There's a ton of books like on her backlist that I would like to check out. Like I want to read All Roads Lead Here. I did read When Gracie Met the Grump, and when I read that book, I was like convinced nothing would ever top it. Like I loved it so much. That's another book that I would definitely think about listening to or giving a reread in the future. If you do read any of Mariana Zapata books, they're really thick, really long. The slow burn is the longest slow burn ever. But for me, I sometimes get super bored if a book is insta-lovey or if there's not enough burn between the 2 main characters. So I love slow burn. I'm getting a little stressed for this next one because this one is super popular and I feel really bad that I only rated this 3 stars, but I just didn't connect with it that much. Yeah. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I want to say, did I enjoy this book? I did. I thought it was adorable. I thought it was really, really cute. Did I connect with the characters? No. What were the characters' names? Olive and I have no idea. Wasn't it like an Adam Driver fanfic? Olive Smith and Adam Carlson. Yes. It was cute. It was a cute book. If you guys want like a fun read, I definitely recommend it. Olive is a 3rd-year PhD candidate and isn't like Adam like a professor or something like that? It's a cute story. It's a cute story. I like it. Would I reread this? Probably not. It is fun though. If I was in the mood for something like this, I definitely pick it up. Do I recommend it? Like I said, I do. It depends on your taste though. Would I recommend the romantasies a little bit more? Yes, because that's my favorite kind of genre now, but it was super cute. Do I think that all of these books kind of like lived up to the BookTok TikTok hype? I really do. Just because all of them didn't connect with me doesn't mean I don't see why they did get the hype that they did, and I think all of them are deserving of the hype. I think all books are deserving of hype. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of time that goes into writing these books. When I rate these, it's just about my personal connection to the book because not everything we read, not everything we try, we're gonna love, we're gonna connect with. So those were some of my all-time favorite books and some books that were just good to me, but I do recommend checking all of them out. Definitely prioritize ACOTAR and Fourth Wing if you think our tastes align. I feel like recently, especially since I moved here and everything, I haven't been taking time to read books. I really do miss it. Like, I have my Kindle in my bed right now, and I try to read just like a little bit before bed at night, even if it's for just like 5 minutes, because I really like just miss doing it. I miss that form of like self-care and self-kindness. So I do keep my Kindle right next to my bed, and depending how late it is and depending how tired I am, I do try to read like a few pages a night. But I would like to start incorporating reading times a few times a week. It also makes me kind of sad that I haven't been like reading enough of the books and they just kind of sit there and collect dust. So until I can get through my TBR, I'm gonna hold off on buying any more books. There honestly hasn't been like any books that are like standing out to me that I'm like craving to read. If you're a romantasy reader like me, please let me know what your favorite romantasy is of all time. And if it's enemies to lovers, bonus points there. I will sprint to add that to my library. Love you guys.